Hi, I'm Charisse.
And I'm Holly, and welcome to Ask Mom.
Today we are dealing with parent conflict and how to handle that. We've gotten some emails on how do I handle conflict with my parents, and I think the best way to do it is just to put your parent in their room in their timeout, and you just take control of the house. That's what I would recommend, because that's what I would want my daughter to do.
I think when the conflict starts, you can do that, or you can say, we need to do this over a gallon of ice cream. And you just get a couple of who can be mad while you're eating ice cream? Seriously?
Yeah, you can't. You can't.
You also can't speak that rapidly because your mouth is full
of a cold substance called ice cream.
Right. And the first time you spew strawberry ice cream out of your mouth, everyone's going to be on the floor laughing. That'll diffuse the conflict.
So I'm Charisse.
I wish we could end it there. Conflict is a tough conversation, really, because
nobody likes conflict. Let's just put it that way.
No, well, like if there's I don't know. Nobody. There's some people who search for conflict.
Yeah, but those people are deranged.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Yes.
Those people need medication.
That's
true.
I
think in general, most people want to shove the conflict under the carpet.
Right.
Of course, when you're connected emotionally with somebody, mom, dad, things like that, you don't shove it under the carpet as fast as,
We're pushing dogs off our laps.
Yeah.
They want to sit with us. That's true. And I think that when you're becoming a teenager or you're in your teenage years, part of the growth of that time is discovering your voice, discovering that you have opinions that are different than your parents, and you want to say what those opinions are, and you want your parents to be able to receive them well. And so you're trying to separate and distinguish yourself apart from your parents, and for your parents that's a painful time because they know that it's coming and they want to see the ways that you're going to grow, but it can be threatening to have raised a child up until a certain point to believe certain things and then to have them challenge those things with their own thoughts. And so so parents get more defensive and they want to take more control at a time when really they should be backing off a little bit and saying, you're a smart kid and you have lots of great thoughts and we'd like to hear what those thoughts are and maybe we could discuss them. That's a hard thing for lots of parents to do.
Well, because I think it's one of our roles as parents is to protect our children. And so when we see them maybe not making the decisions that we think that they should make, then that's where some of the problems arise. And as a teenager, you really feel like you know a lot, or you want to be able to experience things and make your own decisions and make your own mistakes so that you can learn from that. And that's a big part of being a teenager too.
Some of the things you can do is learn how to diffuse conflict. So when you feel that surge of passion that arises inside of you when you feel strongly about something and you want to say what you feel, you need to do things like take a deep breath and actually think for 1 second before you allow the words to come out. Your parents should be doing this too, but they might not have modeled that for you.
Right.
And so if you want a good outcome from the conflict, more than just saying what you think, if you want your parent to really hear you, you have to be calm. Because the more boisterous and the more out of control you seem in how you are saying the things you feel like need to be said, the less you will be listened to.
That's true.
Or you could say, if you can see something is starting to become too heated, you could just say, I'm still figuring out what I think about this, and I guess I need a little more time to think about it, but I do really want to talk to you about it.
Right.
And so then your parent would be like, oh, wow, that's really mature, that they realize they need to step back from whatever it is and think about it a little bit. And anytime you're in a conflict and you can honor something that your parents think, that will cause them to listen to you more.
Right.
So if you could say, wow, I really hear what you're saying about this, and I need some time to figure out if I feel that way, that I can really see your point, then all of a sudden they feel like, okay, our words are getting across, so we don't need to keep hammering across what we think or what we believe, and they're going to just need their time to internalize what it is they believe to have another discussion. Does that make sense?
And the other thing is you have to be careful of is your body language. So if you're like this, when you're in conflict with your parents or having these discussions, it's not helping your cause.
That's right. Eye rolling, arms being crossed, deciding to get up and just walk away from whatever conflict you're having.
Unless you've clearly said, like you were saying earlier, like, let me just kind of think about before I want to discuss this with you, but let me just get my head in a better spot, retreat to your room and say, okay, I'm ready to talk about it. Have notes, have your points if you're forgetting things. I think the hardest thing with conflict is when you start to get in a where you feel like you have to defend yourself or defend your thoughts, that sometimes words can be said that you can't take back. And that's when your voice won't be heard.
Yeah, that's a great point. And some of the ways that you could counteract that, like when Charisse was saying you could sort of write down your thoughts or whatever, is if you feel like you can't discuss something rationally, then try not to discuss it, and instead maybe write about it, and then wait overnight and read what you wrote again, and say to yourself, does this in any way insult the person I'm talking to?
Right.
Or talk down to them? Or make them feel like they don't really know me, or they don't really understand the situation? You know, is it just talking purely from my heart, what I feel, what I'm worried about? And so you can have discussions that way with your parents in a way that might feel a lot less threatening to them and a lot less threatening to you. And then you have time to think back. You could ask them, maybe you could write me back about this, because this just feels so tender and so, difficult.
We've talked about that before too, about like journaling, like having a journal, one of those composition notebooks where, you can pass it back and forth to your parents. Like, you write what you feel, and then, give that to them. They can sit on that and read it, discuss it, get their thoughts clear in their head too, so that when they write back, they can, put things down.
And the more you're able to do that sort of thing respectfully, slowly over time you'll learn how to be able to do that verbally.
Right.
And so I think it's fine to not have to always, get into it's difficult to get into a verbal debate with someone who's been doing it for decades.
It's true.
And so you sit down with a parent, and you're frustrated. Usually I think a teen is frustrated because they've never really had to argue their point before. They're new to this, and they have new feelings, and maybe they're not all 100% rational, just like for adults. Often they're not 100% rational. It's just something you feel. But how are you supposed to articulate something when maybe the person you're talking to has had, like I said, 20, 30, 40, 50 years of doing this in practice, and you feel like they're just going to be able to throw you under the table with the first line or the first question or the first thing. So you just want to be able to take a deep breath, have time to think, gather your thoughts, particularly if it's something you really care about.
Right.
And you really need to discuss it with your parent. And like we said, writing is fine. Writing them notes, using a journal, email or texting them and saying, this is something I really care about and I really want to have a conversation with you, but I'm really worried about how to have that conversation with you.
Without having it explode.
And, human interactions are complicated, and it takes a long time to know what things you can say and what things you can't say to be able to accelerate something or, bring it back down to a level where you can actually have a decent conversation that's meaningful, that isn't just blowing up.
True dat.
So anyway, hopefully that will help you with some of your parent conflicts. If you have something more specific you really want us to talk about, though, about conflict, you can email us at hollycharisse@yahoo.com. Or leave a comment on YouTube, or send us a personal message on YouTube.
Right.
We look at them every day, most every day, unless it's a holiday.
A holiday.
Holiday.
I'm Charisse.
And I'm Holly. Thanks for tuning in.